Man, what's good, everyone? What's good? What's good? What's good? Hope everyone's having a blessed Sunday afternoon. Enjoying some playoff football today. Y'all know what it is. This is Jared 011 Green. Another episode of Southern Baller Show. And of course, I have my brothers on. Uh, Brother Co 67 Sports TV. What's going on, man?
I'm blessed and highly favored. How y'all gentlemen doing this afternoon?
I can't complain. Cannot complain at all, man. Uh, JB, what's going on with you, man?
Hey man, just like Coach man, just blessed, ready to talk about some ball, man.
Yes, sir. Well, that's what we're going to talk about. Big Joe, he said, salute to the family. Visiting Pops will be listening. That's okay, man. We appreciate your support. Always been
Shout out to Pops, man.
And speaking
Yeah,
of Big
big
Joe,
shout out to Pops.
yeah, shout out to Pops, man. And speaking of Big Joe, y'all make sure y'all go to www.oldhillsidebourboncompany.com. Get you a bottle. Is that Old Hillside Bourbon? Very good product. Have family members have um, have a glass or have a taste during the holidays, and they enjoyed it, man. So y'all make sure y'all support black business. This is a black business owned, so y'all make sure if you're interested or you know a family member that likes to drink, this is the brand for you, man. And of course, I have my brother Brent Fox joining us. What's going on?
Hey, y'all able to hear me pretty good?
Yeah,
Yes,
we
sir.
can hear you, bro. How you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing all right, man. Happy to be on the show.
Yes, sir.
So Brent,
What up, JB?
And then,
same old, man.
yes, sir. And then we got Anthony Bolton in. He said, salute, man. Memphis Tiger, man. What's going on? And then salute to Relaxing Calm Rain. He said, salute Jared, Co 67 panel in chat. Also, Motivation to be a Millionaire. Salute Jared, Coach panel in chat. Appreciate you, man. He said, I must apologize for the comment I made last week saying that Dan Lanning knows how to coach talent. Clearly he does. Oh, we gonna talk about it. uh Brother Anthony Bolton, man, but y'all know it is, man. Yeah, and Big Joe also putting the link in the chat. So and then I have it up here, so make sure I support. But this the first thing we're gonna tackle is the college football playoffs, man. It's been crazy. Been um now I am gonna go ahead and tackle the Ole Miss versus Miami game.
That was the
It was,
better of the two games right there.
yeah, exactly. It was the better of the two games. Uh Trinidad Chambliss, and I must say Carson Beck did a good job. He had a
Game
good
manager,
game.
game manager versus playmaker.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So those who don't know, Miami again, and I picked Miami. I did not want to go against Miami again because I picked Ohio State against Miami, but they made believers out of me again. Excuse me, a believer out of me. But again, they victorious, beating Ole Miss 31-27. Carson Beck had 268 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception, and I believe the interception was, I guess it was batted down and intercepted, if I'm not mistaken. And then Trinidad Chambliss had a damn good game. This is a former Division II player, and he's been balling, man. Trinidad Chambers. It's that dude. Had 277 yards through the air, 1 touchdown, and then Deshaun Stribling for Ole Miss, 5 receptions, 77 yards. Caden Lee and Daquan Wright, the tight end, both had 60 yards apiece. And I'm gonna say this, fellas, that Ole Miss defensive line, especially, I was impressed. That Ole Miss defensive line was no joke. They knew how to go after the quarterback, especially that line. Well, the defensive line, Perkins, number 4, beast. I can't even pronounce this brother name. African brother, number 1, beast. And William Echols, of course, number 52, beast. But I ain't gonna lie, that secondary was getting carved up. They were getting beat by screens. They linebacker TJ Dottery is a beast. Sideline linebacker. If he decides to go in the draft, somebody, in my opinion, will get a steal. Now, on Miami side, Keelan Marion, the wide receiver, beast, man. Seven receptions, 114 yards through the air, 1 touchdown. And Malachi Tony, former high school quarterback, now athlete and wide receiver. This dude's a dynamic, man.
And he only a freshman.
And may I say more about the running backs? I forgot to talk about Ole Miss running back, Kawan Lacey.
Yeah.
He struck 6 on their ass. 70 plus yard touchdown.
He was battling injury,
but he got hurt. 11 carries, 103 yards. And then Miami running backs, Mark Fletcher Jr., 22 carries, 133 yards. And then Shamar Brown, 14 carries, 54 yards, and a touchdown. That's their 1-2 punch. And then their defense, Miami's defense, Jacoby Thomas, Muhammad Toure with a sack, and then big number 99 got hurt, which is one of their better, Hamid Moten, which is one of their better defensive linemen on that Miami's defensive front. Could not stay in the game because he got hurt. I think second play of the game. But overall, I'm impressed with Miami's defense. Be honest with you, they could have blew Ole Miss out, in my opinion. But because of boneheaded plays, boneheaded penalties, they made the game closer than it should have been, and there was a whole bunch of drop interceptions by Miami secondary.
Yes, indeed.
A lot of drop interceptions. Now we see why they play defensive back, because they sure hell couldn't play wide receiver. Going with you, Coach. What was your opinion on Miami getting this victory?
Well, first and foremost, I saw what I think was a Facebook group I was in. They said it was the convicts versus the Confederates. And basically my mindset was go convicts. But
right.
It was an excellent game. Trinidad Chambers, he clearly was a playmaker, whereas Beck was more of a game manager. That component of it was something to really watch. And I'm not gonna lie, like Miami really dominated the line of scrimmage up front on both sides of the ball. Another issue too was the fact that Miami really dominated time of possession. That was the crazy thing. They dominated in every category except for on the scoreboard. I'm like, how could you dominate in all these other areas, but you only leading by one score? So at the end of the day, like it was they were dominating, but it didn't show on the scoreboard. They kept using that tunnel screen, that little wide receiver number 10. Now, like that young man,
Tony, yeah.
he a dog. So at the end of the day, I'm not gonna lie, it was a good game. I felt like Miami probably could have put it away a lot earlier than they did had they not had all the penalties and the miscues, especially the untimely penalties. I'm not gonna lie, you wouldn't think a team playing this late in the season have this many issues when it comes to penalties. They really, I'm not gonna lie, I hate to say it, they kind of remind me of Southern, the last several years with all the penalties they had the other night. But at the end of the day, they made plays when they needed to. I mean, I think the only real area that they really struggled in big time, I felt like they dominated up front defensively, but they secondary, oh my goodness, they gave up a lot of plays. Now, don't get me wrong, I know we had some target and ejection penalties during the game, but nevertheless, they secondary really struggled. But overall, I felt like it was an excellent game. And even my mom was saying that she was like, basically, she kind of said what I said, like, hey, the kid for Miami, basically he a game manager, but the other kid for Ole Miss, he a playmaker. You know what I'm saying? So, and not only that, but it's crazy how both of them had real experienced quarterbacks. Even though Chambers won a Division II national championship, clearly he's a seasoned quarterback. He's been playing a while. Beck started out at UGA, so you need those type of quarterbacks to get you to this point. At this point in the season, overall, I thought it was an excellent game.
Yeah, it was a very excellent game, and shout out to Trinidad Chambers. Even though they fell short, that his journey, man, coming from one of the Division II powerhouses, Ferris State, who he did win was it two Division II championships at Ferris State, then to now lead Ole Miss deep into the college football playoffs. So shout out to that young brother. I believe whoever drafts him, whenever he goes into the draft, because right now he's trying to get on to get basically he's trying to get eligible for another year to play at Ole Miss. But for right now, the NCAA is turning it down. But based on, and me and Coach were talking about it, I think his lawyer or his agent they're going to appeal the decision to see if he can play one more year, be eligible one more year.
Yeah, because even after COVID, they've been granting these guys an extra year eligibility. Even this past season, Kendrick Grimes, at one point he was Southern University starting running back. The NCAA granted him another year eligibility, and he transferred to Tennessee State. So yeah, a lot of those guys, post COVID, they gave him an extra year eligibility.
Yeah, man. And before I go to the other two brothers, what's up, 86 Ghosts, man? Appreciate you, man. Coming by, another dope content creator. Make sure y'all support. But Joseph Townsend got a question. He said, since Chambliss was not granted a 6-year option, do y'all think he's a first-round pick? I don't think he's a first-round pick. I think he's going to be a steal. He may be drafted in the second or third round, but he's going to be a steal for someone.
But I mean, I think the crazy thing about it is I think he's definitely going to be a steal in the NFL draft. But I'm talking about in terms of his financial security, he probably better off getting another year eligibility with the NCAA because they got an NIL bag waiting for him if he get another year. Whereas if he go to NFL, he's not even guaranteed to be a first round pick at all. So
Right.
it's more financially beneficial for him to have that extra year eligibility.
That's why they making the moves. Yeah. Right. Brother Brent, going to you. What did you think about this amazing game?
Yeah. I don't think I could probably say what has already been said about the game, but I will say this about Trinidad. He has a he has a he has a smooth release. I know that's weird or whatever, but it's a smooth release that he actually has, and the ball comes out and it's very catchable. I think, especially for like places like the NFL, but I also agree that he may need another year in college to try to get his draft stock up. But the way that ball actually comes out, and then the way that it's actually guided into the receivers, yeah, the NFL kind of looks for that. Like you want to throw accurate, catchable balls, and if you're able to do that, then there's a place for you in the NFL. But I think what you call it getting hurt probably hurt Ole Miss too. They running back Lacey. I think him getting hurt probably cost them because he was making plays before he went out, and then I think that the momentum could have been a lot different if you have somebody that explosive still in the game.
I agree. I agree. But even with Kyron Lacey before he went out, Miami had so many chances to make the league, greater. Like we just talked, like the multiple interceptions dropped on the defensive side of the ball. Like the secondary left a whole bunch of interceptions on the field.
Oh yeah, no doubt. But if you let guys like that hang around and you have explosive playmakers on the other side, sooner than later, their presence is going to make an impact.
Facts. Facts. JB, what did you think about the game?
I think whoever wins is gonna be food for Indiana. Miami, so it looked like Miami won, and we know football is football, but Indiana, man,
You say that.
that team.
So you saying, and I want you to talk about what you think about the game versus Ole Miss, but that's interesting. So you don't think Miami got a shot against Indiana?
They got a shot. It's football, but I think Indiana just too well coached. And like I said, some of the things that Miami did in the game, like didn't take advantage of the interceptions, letting Lacey get off, like Brent just said, they were fortunate that Lacey got injured because Indiana got pretty much to me a two-headed monster at running back with Black and the other dude. I forgot his name. Black and man. Yeah, but they're good running. They got two good two-headed monster. Now I do like Mark Fletcher for Miami. He's my type of running back. He runs hard. He's run tough. He got enough speed where he can bust one open. Number 10 gonna have a game of his life. Of course, they use him in the passing game and in the kick return game.
Yeah, another person I got to look out for is C.J. Daniels. And I mean to cut you off. Just think about just since we're talking about playmakers that's gonna have to play their ass off against that Indiana defense. C.J. Daniels, he had a quiet game, 4 reception, 26 but he had a quiet good game, meaning like a lot of them, was just 4 receptions, 26 yards. Those four catches was mainly like first down catches that they needed.
Right.
So
Right.
he's gonna have to do more of that.
And as far as the game, I'm not gonna regurgitate this what you all said, but I just know that um Miami Miami might be more of a match than what
Oregon, we're gonna talk about it.
Oregon was, because I think their front is more equipped. You know what I'm saying? Especially the offensive line, because Ole Miss got a very good defensive line. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
So it might be a good game. It's just that year where Indiana has made me a believer, and Miami has made me a believer. I thought they was gonna go out in the first round, and I thought Indiana was just one of them, Cinderella teams that, got a really good coach and that overachieved. But no, they're a good football team. Like, he developed them dudes he got from James, the transfer from James Madison, and they're competing on the elite level. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I'm just impressed with Indiana right now.
Before I move on, and salute to Jay Barr. He said salute the family in chat. Appreciate you coming by, always supporting. Big Reg, another good content creator. He said salute everybody. Salute, brother. And then Sister Chris, she said, hey y'all, what's going on? We just talking about some college ball, and we're gonna talk about a little better NFL playoffs. But appreciate you stopping by, Chris. But before we move on to the other game, the Indiana and Oregon game, JB. So they mentioned it during the game, during the after Miami was victorious. They mentioned because it's mind-boggling, because they said because Miami lost to SMU and lost to Louisville, a lot of people was figuring out how the hell they made it this far. And me, you, Big Joe, we've been saying it from the beginning. We not surprised because they're from the ACC.
They're from the ACC. It's like what you and shout out to the HBU fanatics. It's the SWAC of the PWI.
Right.
Yeah. Southern might be 6-0, but if you bullshit around and thinking you go, Mississippi Valley might, you might be down in the fourth quarter against Mississippi Valley. We've seen that before throughout the SWAC, and you brothers can a testament to that. That's the same way with the ACC, where Miami was the front runner. They came out 6-0, and then everybody talking about Miami this, and then Louisville hit them in the mouth. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the ACC. The SEC used to be like that. Kind of still is, but I think people need to give the ACC more respect, because they play good football in that conference. Yeah. They play good football in that conference. And as soon as they get Dabo out of there and get a competent coach, Clemson gonna be back on top too. And I don't know what the hell my Tar Heels gonna look like, but we'll see.
Yeah, man. But I was just thinking about that. The ACC strikes again.
Hey,
yeah, but I'm not. To answer your. Go ahead, Coach.
I don't mean to cut you off, JP. I just want to throw this in. I think it's better for Belichick that he is in the NFL and not coaching college ball, because I don't think college ball really where he need to be coaching. I think NFL is his lane. I think if you get the right NFL team, even if you want, maybe you could let him be the GM too, or let him pick his own GM. But I think the NFL is better for him as opposed to him being coaching in college.
Hey, right now, I agree. It's just like, to the point, man. Miami always get good players every year. They always get premium players as far as defensive wise and offensive wise on both sides of the ball. They finally got a coach, I believe, that can bring the most out of that talent. And I think, well, not think, because I'm not getting nothing out of it, but shout out to Miami for sticking with that coach, say Cristobal, and allowing him to, get that program back on track. Because how many times we've seen after 2 years, if the coach is not winning or not winning how they're supposed to, they think they should be, they're firing the coach. But Miami stuck with Cristobal, so shout out to Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember prior seasons where Miami looked like they were doing real good with previous coaches, and then when it comes toward the end of the season, they're losing games that they shouldn't have, and and then next thing you know, that coach is fired. So yeah, good point. Brent, what was you
Yeah,
about to say?
like Eric Dooley in terms of grades with Southern.
Yep, yep. But what was you about to say, Brent?
What I was about to ask was this, and I'm sorry for opening this door because this is a whole nother show. But having brought up Bill Belichick, do you think that the recruiting strategies for schools now, and I know that they've changed drastically, but like for these conferences as a whole, do you think that they pretty much have like a different recruiting strategy as opposed to maybe a more traditional one from like the SEC?
Well, you gotta and that's a very good question because I'm glad you asked this question. So first of all, the recruiting, you have to be up on the recruiting. You have to know you got to get a recruiter that has their eyes everywhere. Shout out to Emory Hunt. That's why I like Emory Hunt, because he has his eyes everywhere. FCS, FBS, Division 2, Division 3, it don't matter. Your recruiter has to be everywhere. You just can't be picking up
Four
Division
and five
1,
stars.
4 and 5 stars, and turn it out they can't play or they don't fit your scheme. You got to have your recruiting on point. That's why Coach Signetti, who's the coach of Indiana, is where he's at now, because he knew them James Madison players will fit on his offense, and he just recruited everywhere. He recruited all those dogs that played in the Sun Belt or the WAC or wherever. He brought them with him, or he recruited them.
Yeah, that was an excellent question, Brother Fox. Truthfully speaking, the landscape has changed. We talked about it. Really, like the transfer portal and the NIL, it really has changed the landscape of college football. That's why you see individuals like Nick Saban. He kind of like, he was like, no mas. That's why he tapped out, and he like, hey, I don't want to do this no more. Let me go sit on the set for college game day, because he didn't want to do it no more.
Right.
Even old boy for Clemson, what his name is,
Dabo Swinney.
He really couldn't adjust. So that's why you see teams like Alabama, like Clemson, even your Longhorns. Like it's not like back in the gap where you just get you a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. Even Nick Saban, Joe Towns said this all the time. Hey, he could just get his national championship rings, go to a recruit house, put his rings on the table, tell him, hey, if you want one of these, you come to come to Alabama. And from a recruiting standpoint, I mean, just think about it. At one point, Nick Saban just stockpiling 4 and 5 star players, and realistically, like he had it so good, it was to the point where, I mean, just think about all the elite level running backs he had, like Derrick Henry, like Mark Ingram. I mean, he had it.
Mm-hmm.
He had his system down so pat. It was to the point
Kenyon
really,
Drake. Yeah.
yeah, it was to the point where really, like you would have like a couple 5-star players playing, and he would have like a couple more 5-star players waiting in the wings. It was to the point where Nick Saban, when he was at Alabama, he was not rebuilding; he just was reloading. But in the day and age with the NIL and the transfer portal, I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Lane Kiffin left Ole Miss and went to LSU, but it's to the point where you just can't stockpile all this talent because I tell this story all the time. I remember back in the Gap when Warwick Dunn was at Florida State, like he was one of the top running backs in the country, and he had Rock Preston behind him. And Rock Preston would not leave Florida State because he was loyal to Bobby Bowden in Florida State. But had Rock Preston left Florida State, he could have went any other school, probably a bunch of schools in the country, and became an All-American. But today's day and age with the NIL and the transfer portal, there's no way you're going to have a situation like that. In fact, they were showing, I know Ole Miss and LSU are bad examples, but they were showing in the transfer portal, like both of those teams had like 30-plus players in the transfer portal. Even if you look at Friday night, like Oregon had players playing in the playoffs, and they were in the transfer portal. So they literally were playing in the college football playoffs, and they were literally in the portal as we speak. They are in the portal. They were playing Friday night, but they're in the portal. So at the end of the day, I mean, you could have a team, you could be a Power 4 team, one of the top teams in the country, and at the end of the season, you can have like 30, 35, 40 players in a transfer portal. So at the end of the day and age where you got powerhouses like Alabama, like the University of Texas, just stockpiling players, 4- and 5-star recruits.
And we keep using the example, Coach, Miami, when they had Edgerrin James just went to the draft, and behind him you have Frank Gore,
you got Willis
McGahee,
McGahee,
Najee Davenport. Them days gone.
And then on top of that, we talked about how the Indiana coach, how he had success on a lower level. They pulled him up. You also could use the HBCU examples of Tremaine Jackson and Tennis Berry, how they had success on a Division II level. They came up to the FCS level, and they brought players up from the lower level and plug and play, on their team. And realistically, Jared and I talk about this all the time. That's why you see players, just say, for example, like Jackson State players, where they got, Ahmad Miller, he being pulled up to Syracuse, Travis Terrell Jr. being pulled up to Purdue. So at the end of the day, like, these bigger schools starting to see the superstar elite level players on a FCS level in the HBCU realm. They're pulling them up to bigger schools. So at the end of the day, they're starting to use like HBCUs as a breeding ground for like the Power Fives. I mean, even though he didn't like the world on fire, Southern had his defensive back that played at a Baton Rouge High School, Madison Prep. He went to Prairie View, then he came to Southern. Now he gonna go to LSU and play for Lane Kiffin. So at the end of the day, you gotta have eyes everywhere, and you really gotta be on your game from a recruiting standpoint.
Yep. And JB, did you want to add anything to answer Brent Fox's question?
Yeah, when it turns to Bill Belichick, I think in his first year, he said out his mouth that he wanted to be, as far as coaching and development, like the 33rd NFL team. So that's and what happened was, I think they were behind because they just fired Mike Brown, and they didn't really have no people. Everybody, once Mike Brown was fired, everybody jumped in the portal. So when Bill got there, he really didn't have no roster. So he was just putting people, signing people, filling people on the roster because they were behind schedule. They didn't know who their offensive coordinator was. They didn't know who their defensive coordinator was. It was just a mess. And I think Bill well, it's going to be. I'm gonna judge him on this season more than the first season, even though that first season was a disaster. Because now I'm seeing he's starting to bring in players uh that's going to be it's going to be interesting how this team operates now.
He's doing what
Um,
everybody else is doing, and shout out to Coach Prime, Saul,
mhm.
um, and I think most had to do with Coach Brennan, uh, former head coach from Sac State. I think he's Coach Prime is humbling himself and realize he don't know everything about recruiting, so he's
Right.
allowing his staff to do the recruiting, and he's doing a damn good job. I must say, he's doing way better. In my opinion, he's doing way better than the way he did the second year. Of course, he brought Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders along with him, but in my opinion, he's doing better than what he did the past 2 years that he's been there as far as recruiting. Because he's getting some dogs that are already established themselves as uh, good football players, very good plug and play players, and and it's going to be interesting. So a lot of coaches are um, taking that playbook.
Yep.
They
And
taking that playbook.
The Indiana thing, um, the Indiana coach and this Indiana frenzy of how he is having success with not, top tier players. And I believe we said it on the show, and you guys said it on the Southern Baller show. Long story short, I'm not just going to
You
repeat,
mean HBCU
keep
fanatics?
repeating. Yeah, HBCU fanatics, right? So I'm not just gonna keep repeating what you guys say. You really do gotta have eyes everywhere, because if you just plucking people like you just see Caden Salters and as a 5 star, you just don't get him just because he's a 5 star. And I think that was the detriment of Coach Prime, not just Coach Prime, but Bill Belichick. The Gio Lopez was a 3-4 star in the transfer portal for South Alabama, but um, it didn't work because number one, I think he missed most of training camp, and I think the game and the speed of the game was just too fast for him at the ACC level, and maybe that would have helped him um, if he would have had the whole training camp. But oof, that TCU game basically cemented what our season was going to be like.
Right. And Brent had to hop off. He's gonna try to get back on later. But go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, and it brought up an interesting point. It kind of reminded me of DJ Lagway. You know, me and salute to Jay Good. Jay Good, when he and I talked about this, one of the swag Facebook groups I'm in, they were saying that DJ Lagway was gonna make a visit to Southern. And I want to tell a person that said that, like, man, don't go and repeat that bull crap nowhere. But DJ Lagway, the way they talking, like
Right.
he gonna end up at Baylor. And even with him, I think he'd have did better. Evidently, I think he had a late start or whatever. He was hurt early in the game. He really couldn't go. The training camp, this, that, and the third, woo the woo. And then not only that, you got a player that talent that got like what 3.5 million in NIL money or something like ridiculous or insane. Basically, what ended up happening was, coaches gonna see him with that kind of talent. They're gonna figure, hey, I could fix him. Let's throw a bag his way and let me get him, and I'm gonna work with him. So I think that's why he ended up at Bill. But there was no way, even with Marshall Falk, I didn't see DJ Lagway even considering coming to Southern. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He might need it to go to Southern, to be honest with you. But I
Well,
think Baylor.
honestly,
Go ahead.
the kid Zion Chris that came from ULL and the University of Houston, but instead now he gonna end up at Tulane. I don't see him being that guy at Tulane. I think he probably just gonna be a Jag, just another guy. But him coming up to Southern, he probably could have been, SWAC, just like Jacoby Morgan. Jacoby Morgan wasn't that guy at Syracuse. He come to Jackson State, he is, SWAC preseason offensive player of the year. I see Zion
Right.
being the same way, but the fact that instead of you going to, Jay Good also brought this up too. You got to realize a lot of these guys have agents now with this NIL situation in place. And so basically, instead of doing what's in his best interest from a plan, just strictly from a playing standpoint, you got guys at these agents that's like an Eddie Hearn type of guy, like a snake off state salesman. He got to get his money, because he like a boxing promoter. He trying to push you the money so he can get his cut. So instead of him coming to Southern, he decided, hey, I'm gonna take this money and go to Tulane. So that's why he went to Tulane as opposed to coming to Southern. So at the end of the day, you got to choose: do you want to play or do you want the bag? And in many instances, these guys choosing the bag over being a starter, or maybe even being a big fish in a small pond and being a star on a lower level, as opposed to being, a small fish in a big pond. And I think that's how you get guys like Trinidad Chambers, who on a lower level, he might be a late bloomer. He could go somewhere, play for three years or whatever, and then jump up to a higher level. Guys really, they don't think about the long game. They just thinking about the short term, getting the bag, getting the money right now.
Man, I mean, that's what it is. And I'm not mad at the players for getting their money, their bag. You know what I'm saying? It's just, we see, y'all keep saying, like, y'all keep bringing this name up, like, what's your boy Bubba, Harold Flood? What is his name from the quarterback from they got stuck in the portal? Coach?
Oh no, you talking about Bashawn McCray?
Not Rashawn McCray, but there was another school. I keep laughing every time you bring his name up. Well, his dad was his dad knew the coach of Southern at that time.
That's Rashawn McCray. That's Rashawn McCray.
Okay, yeah. He got stuck in the portal. You got dudes like that that's stuck in the portal, and that's the downside of I think that's the downside of the NIL, where you got dudes that think giving up their spot basically just to
follow the bag,
try to go somewhere else, and they not being patient. So some of them just need to develop. They don't need to be going nowhere else.
Yeah, and the reason why we know it's not Harold Blood, because Harold Blood, younger brother, was a wide receiver at Mizzou, and so Harold Blood left Southern, and I'm like, dude, how you jump from Southern to Mizzou? But his brother already was on the team at Mizzou. So what ended up happening with Harold Blood is the University of Washington made him the director of recruiting. So he left and went to Washington to take a job, and now his brother left Mizzou to go to Washington to follow him. So essentially, he left Southern to go with his brother, and now his brother leaving Mizzou to go to Washington with him. Since he's gonna be like the, some kind of like director of recruiting services or whatever. So even him, I wished him well. But McCray, once the stuff hit the fan in terms of Eric Dooley having a close personal relationship with Bashawn and Benny McCray, once that came out, he basically gave him an option to, transition from a project player quarterback to being a wide receiver, and he rebuffed that request because Benny had already graduated. So he jumped in the portal, and he just got stuck. The only team that really had interest in him was Norfolk State when Dawson Owens was the head coach. He talked to him, but he didn't have interest in, giving him a scholarship and making him potentially starting quarterback on his team. I mean, he wasn't a legit quarterback. He was more of an athlete that was a project player more than anything.
Yeah, man. And but Brent, you hop back on. But does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, most definitely, man. I appreciate the thorough explanation.
Yeah, that was a good question. No, it's definitely. And Anthony Bolton said, "Facts, coach. You go to smaller schools to get valuable reps and develop your skill set. Yes, sir.
And I mean, I think Trinidad Chambers.
It's a good
I mean,
example of that.
yeah, I think if guys are smart, they would follow his blueprint, and they would be willing to go down a level, maybe go to a Southern, Alcorn State, I don't know, Texas Southern, wherever. You get your reps, you get your good footage and your good film, and then you move up to a bigger school. After you done played for 2 or 3 years, and then you could go get you a bag. Because, even somebody like Andrew Body, I think Andrew Body might get him a bag probably in these next 2 days. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he will. Somebody definitely gonna pick him up. So yeah, but yeah, fellas, yeah, don't mind be on that topic a little longer than should, because it was definitely a good question. But let's move on to the other game, which it was the blowout, Indiana versus Oregon. Um, I had a feeling this was going to happen because Oregon secondary has never impressed me for these couple of years. They do this. They blow out the okay teams and the decent teams, and when they play the juggernauts, they get blown out. Even with their explosive offense. Indiana blew Oregon out 56-22, and as these younger kids say today, BTA, it was
BCA big time.
belt to ass. I mean, and that other running back you were talking about, JB, Roman Hemby, along with Kalon Black,
Dogs.
excellent 1-2 punch. Elijah Surratt at wide receiver core and Charlie Becker, and then they tied in Riley Nowakowski, and then Omar Cooper Jr. I mean, they're loaded at the wide receiver core, and then their defensive line, Daniel Duque, and then D'Angelo Pons with the was it like the first or second play of the game where D'Angelo Pons jumped the route and took it to the house?
First play of the game. First play
of the game. First play of scrimmage. D'Angelo Pons just knew where the play was going to be and just took it to the house. And then Fernando Mendoza did not force anything. He just, normally I don't say this about quarterbacks. You know how we talked about on past shows about quarterbacks. He a first round pick. Just how he just played the game and he just took what was given to him. He a first round pick. Fernando Mendoza is definitely first round pick. Now how he blossoms in the NFL, of course we gonna see, but he definitely a first round pick. Any of y'all fellas disagree with that?
No, I'm not gonna lie. At one point, I wasn't as sold on him as other people, but these last few weeks, I really kind of start to come around on him. I kind of start to view him like a Bo Nix, like somebody I thought that was kind of overhyped. But even JB and I talking about like, yeah, we was wrong on Nix. I'm starting to feel that way earlier about Mendoza. Maybe I think he is a first round pick at this point.
Yeah, man. Now Oregon, Dante Moore, they were looking for him to have a great game. 285 yards through the air, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. But this is kind of deceptive because he got all them yards after garbage time when the game was already
a bunch of empty calories.
Yeah, right.
But I'm not gonna lie, that was a good second bounce back drive because after he threw the pick six, I'm like, oh. But that second drive, he brought him down and he scored a touchdown. I was shocked the way he rebounded and responded.
Yeah, that shows poise. Good poise for that quarterback. I can't remember who their main running back was for Oregon, but he was out, so they had to go with De'Ara Hill Jr., freshman, and then Jay Harris, uh, which they did all right. But like I said, it was after the fact. When the game was already out of hand, Jamari Johnson, 4 receptions, 83 yards, touchdown, defense. Now I will say this: they linebacker number 28, the white guy, Bryce Bocher. Even with the game out of hand, he was sideline to sideline. I wouldn't mind our Baltimore Ravens picking him up in the later rounds. I definitely wouldn't mind. That's how you play linebacker. That's a bad, and of course the defense couldn't stop it, so there ain't really nothing to say about the defense for Oregon. But Coach, I'm going to you. What's your thoughts on this blowout?
Well, I think the thing about it is, initially, I sat down and watched the game. The first play, Moore threw a pick six. And y'all know I talk about this all the time. Former Baltimore Ravens head coach, he had this book, Brian Billick. He had this analytics book. And it said that if you catch a pick six, you win 80% of the time. If you have a punt return for a touchdown, you win 80% of the time. If you have a certain amount of explosives, meaning plays of 15 yards or more, 20 yards or more, you win 80% of the time. If you win a turnover battle by +2 or more, you win 80% of the time. So initially, I'm like, okay, this could get ugly quick. But Moore, he had a good bounce back drive, and they went right down the field and they scored a touchdown. So I said, all right, it might be a game. And then Mendoza, he had been sitting on the sideline a long time, from the opening kickoff to the point that they actually got on the field. So, and that's one thing I could say about the Indiana head coach. From a strategy standpoint, it's smart. Whatever side of the ball that's starting to be a new strategy. Me as a coach, I always like to defer to the second half. But whatever side of the ball you thrive on first, more than likely, that's probably the side of the ball you want to start on the field first. So if you're more of an offensive team and you win a toss, you want to put your offense on the field first because they're the better unit out of the two units. Whereas Indiana is known for being an elite level defense. So what he did was, hey, let's go out there. And he said it. He was like, look, hey, we're going to go out here. We're going to get a 3 and out. They're going to punt the ball. We're going to get our offense good field position. But even after Oregon responded, Mendoza led his team out there on the field. They went right down the field and they answered back. So I think the turning point to me was when Oregon really couldn't respond, and then Indiana ended up scoring again. I'm like, uh-oh. And the thing that really just kind of let me know, I'm like, yeah. And I was seeing the way the game was going because, they had a preacher in town that's like a friend from our area in here, friend of the family, and I knew I was gonna go see him at church on Friday night while the game was on. And I'm not gonna lie, based on my coaching experience in this book that Brian Billick had, he wrote this years ago. If you're a real football guy, you can check it out or whatever. But it's these certain markers that determine who gonna win. It's primarily on the NFL and college level. It really don't apply to like high school and in middle school as much because it's a much larger talent gap the lower you go down the level. So if you got like a Pop Warner team and you just super loaded, if you could turn the ball over multiple times. If you way better than another team, it ain't really gonna matter as much. You know what I'm saying? So it really applies more to the NFL and college. And the way I was seeing the game was going, I wouldn't even lie. It was 21-0 and I put my clothes on and I left because I was thinking in the back of my mind, yeah, this gonna get ugly. And I kid you not, I got to church, and he got to preaching and this, that, and the third, and it was getting ready to transition to prophetic service and this, that, and the third. And I saw Indiana had like 35 points, and I'm like, whoo. And guess what? I'm looking at the text messages in our group chat, and I'm like, yeah, this is gonna get ugly. And sure enough, it did.
It did. Yeah, coach. Yeah, you was sitting at the house. You saw how bad it would get. He said, I might as well go ahead and go to surface. I plan to do it anyway. Yeah, yes, sir. Brent, what was your opinion on the blowout win Indiana conveyed the other night?
Yeah, I didn't think that it was going to get that bad. I thought it was going to be a bit more competitive than what it actually was. But yeah, to y'all's point, due to the turnovers, it made it real bad. Like, yeah, at one point, man, it looked like they were getting curb stomped. So it was pretty ugly. But yeah, shout outs to the Oregon freshman, Hill. He started off a little bit shaky, but and I know it was garbage time, but that actually helps as far as like confidence building. And I know I ain't supposed to be giving out no consolation trophies or participation trophies, nothing like that. But that will actually help build like a young college player's confidence, even in garbage time, if he's able to kind of like make significant plays like that. So, shouts out to him. But, I'm sure that he's also aware that, they was getting their ass kicked in the process. But just being able to have the ability to do that against a team in a playoff game, that'll help. But yeah, you can't turn the ball over like that at all. Yeah, that was bad.
Yeah, teams. There are certain teams that are so good and so well coached. You cannot mess up. You can't give them. You can't give them. It's like you spotting them points. You can't do it. You just can't. Before I go to you, JB, Big Red said, do y'all think Mendoza is going to translate well in the NFL? I think so.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it kind of depends on where he lands.
Oh, that's what I was finna say.
If he lands on like a team like the Raiders, it might not translate as well for him.
Yeah, it's not.
But if he go to a team that has potential and that can move in the right direction, I think it can help him. And then not only that, one thing I'm starting to notice with some of these players in college football, I don't know if it really applies to Mendoza, but some of these players are a little bit older than they would have been like 10 years ago, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know what Mendoza's age really is, because even looking at Tyler Shuck for the Saints, I'm like, man, this boy rookie, but this boy like 26 years old, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So I think, those things kind of matter, but if he could be like a Bryce Young type player, as long as he don't end up on like a terrible franchise, I think he's going to be straight.
Well, that look like that's the case, because I don't see how the Raiders don't get him.
Yeah, that is a scary thought.
That's a good point. That's definitely a good point. But JB, what did you think about the game?
I was just straight up. I love seeing Dan Lanning team getting their ass whooped after he tried to, hate on, Prime, because he, Prime was shaking up that program out there in Colorado, and then he said something slick about Colorado promoting themselves on, in cameras and on the social media, and well. Now that you got your team in the playoffs, Oregon historically always does this, where they, they're the best team, athletic. They're faster than everybody. You know what I'm saying? They're more athletic than everybody. And then once they play the Bamas, once they play the teams like
Auburn,
Texas or somebody,
Auburn.
Auburn, they get their ass whooped. Teams that got a better coach, and they just got the same athletes on the field that they do. They always do this. Now, as far as the game, I ain't never seen them get beat this badly. This just shows how one coach is better than the other. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you had mistakes there. You had the pick six, and then you had the QB running into the running back, and then he accidentally fumbling the ball.
Yeah, that was
To me,
crazy.
that stuff needs to be fixed. That spacing. That's coaching. You know, so and that happens, but that still falls on the coach. So I wasn't surprised. Me and Jared was talking about it. I said they gonna blow these boys out. Once Oregon see that they can't outrun everybody, defense is just build the whole offense enough just to out for the offense to outscore everybody. Kind
Yep.
of like the Indianapolis Colts teams of old, where they had Gary Brackett and they had pass rushers. They didn't have the greatest secondary, with Marlon Jackson and them boys. Bob Sanders was a beast, but he could be beat in coverage. But that defense was built just to hold other offenses enough so Peyton Manning and them can do their thing, and that's Oregon. Where if you can match what they can do defensively or offensively on defense, then you can beat them. Because they're not going to be able to stop you on offense if you got an elite offense.
I agree. I definitely agree.
Okay, random thought. Okay, so that Oregon coach, when they actually had that win against James Madison, he kind of gave me like douchebag vibes. I
He is,
understand now why I got that. Okay.
yes, yes,
And then when
because
he beat
James
Texas Tech,
Madison,
yeah, he gave me douchebag vibes again. So it's like, okay, all right, I got it now.
because what Jared pointed out to me was, he said, man, James Madison can beat these boys because James Madison had the offense to beat these boys, but they had to push the ball down the field because their defense couldn't match Oregon's offense.
Right.
Texas Tech, their QB was selling, throwing picks while they was in the red zone. Their running backs was running on them. Texas Tech running back. I said, so me and Gerald, he said when they play Indiana gonna beat the dog shit out their ass, and that's what happened.
Yep.
Well,
Yep.
good for him. I hope his players hit the transfer portal too. Start from scratch, nigga.
Oh, he got a bunch in the portal. I mean, some of those guys that were playing on Friday night, they already in the portal.
Yep.
I don't understand how that
The
works,
one
but they already in the
one of
portal.
their linebackers was in the portal, as you pointed out, Coach, on game day.
I think a couple of their running backs too.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, this is a different atmosphere. This ain't back in the 2000, early and late 2000, 1990s. These young boys think they don't like the coach, or they don't think they're gonna play, or they can get paid. They gonna move. It is
Yeah,
what it
they
is.
looking. It's looking more and more like a business type move, more than it is anything else nowadays. So yeah, you're right. To your
And
point.
good, and like Jay Good said, it's eventually gonna the NIL deals definitely gonna get capped eventually. There's gonna be a cap,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm goody for 'em. Good for them, because back in the day, these players, playing their heart out, breaking their bones, putting their blood, sweat, and tears on that field, just to go back to their dorm room starving.
No,
Yeah,
and,
which
and,
is
and, and another thing too, you got to realize, you know, a lot of times you'll commit to a coach, and man, coaches were hopping from team to team. Some of these guys, you'll go to a team for a specific coach, and you pretty much end up stuck on that team. But the coach, if he get a better job, hey, he gonna leave you there. You high and dry. You know what I'm saying? I mean, don't get me wrong. You can't blame a guy for doing what's in the best interest of his family, but at the same token, you can't blame the players for nowadays who've been empowered, who really get the benefit. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like Joe Tom was saying, pay for play always was a thing. Because we talk. I heard so many stories back in the Gap about LSU players getting paid under the table, but at the end of the day, that was pennies on the dollar compared to what these players getting in terms of NIL nowadays. So at the end of the day, you're right, good for these young men, but it's getting to the point where, like Jay Good was saying, it's too much lawlessness. And you got the cat like the Underwood kid from Michigan, who was supposed to go to LSU. LSU was gonna give him $7 million. Then Michigan doubled back, and I think they offered him like $10 million or whatever. And he took the bag. So you can't really be mad at him, you know what I'm saying? And like even the kid from Delaware State, he was like, hey, I'm leaving and going to a bigger program because he got a 5-year-old. I mean, you can't be mad at people like that,
No, you can't. No, you cannot, man. But when does Miami end? So they play on the 19th. Miami and which is next week, next Monday. So we definitely gonna do a show next Sunday, going into detail of who we think gonna win. But JB already gave us who he thinks is gonna win it all. Coach, who you think takes it all?
I think it's gonna be interesting. I think is it gonna be the line play for Miami up front on both sides of the ball, or is it gonna be that dominant Indiana defense? I think in games of these magnitude, Indiana got a very good offense, but they got a dominant defense. I think Indiana gonna win it, even though it's gonna be a de facto home game for Miami, though.
Yeah. Brent, who you think wins it all?
I'm gonna go with Indiana. I believe that they have the momentum, and while I do think that Miami's defense is top tier, it ain't like that early 2000s defense. Because that early 2000s defense would have been able to take advantage of opportunities and get those turnovers like they were supposed to against Ole Miss. So I got Indiana. There's too much momentum.
Yep. And JB, I know you pretty much spilled what you think before, but I'm gonna have you reintroduce why you think Indiana's gonna win it.
They're too well coached. I've seen some things that worry me about Miami against Ole Miss. Well, Ole Miss could have took advantage of some things, but and Miami got lucky, and they got the win, especially with that pass interference that wasn't called. You know what I'm saying? Later in the game, I think Indiana is just, especially defensively, they're just coached well on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Everybody know where they're supposed to be. Everybody know what they're supposed to do. So Miami is trying to win. They just need to. Everybody just need to play the game that they like. You got the talent. You got the athlete. Everybody just need to just stay on their, like we say in high school, stay on their keys. Stay on their keys, man.
I agree, and I want to pick Miami, but I'm gonna go with my football mind, man. What makes sense? I'm picking Indiana as well. I think it's gonna be a closer game because Miami's defensive line is slept on. It's very slept on. Um, I think they're gonna do just enough to try to make uh, Mendoza uncomfortable. But we gonna see. But I don't think all ball for an entire game. I don't think Miami can hang with Indiana. I just don't.
And oh yeah, Beck turns the Carson Beck turns to turn the ball over in these types of games. Just throwing that out there.
Yeah, Big Red just said he said Carson Beck been playing okay, but the clock is ticking. Yeah, eventually he gonna play a defense, which he's gonna play next Monday. That's gonna force him to be a gunslinger, and I don't think he's that. I think he's a game manager.
Yeah, and I mean not only that, I don't think they're gonna just be to play bully ball the way they did at certain points of the game. I mean, just think about it. They had a couple like situation where it was third and fourth and short, and they gave the ball to the running back, and that old line pushed the running back like 10, 15 yards in the rugby scrum. I don't see them being able to do that against Indiana.
Uh not maybe probably in the first or second half because Mark not because of necessarily the offensive line, but Mark Fletcher. Mark Fletcher keep his legs going, boy. He the truth. But um but overall, coach, you're right. They gonna probably shut that shit down. But fellas, let's pivot from college ball. We're gonna go into the pros, man. So so the Bills and Jaguars played, and then the Panthers and Rams played. So going with the Panthers and Rams, Panthers made too many mistakes. If there was a mistake-free ball game, in my opinion, they would have beat the Rams. Um, but of course, they got Puka Nacua and future Hall of Fame at number 17 in the same receiving core.
Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams, you can't keep making mistakes and think you're gonna come out the winner. But Bryce Young had a decent game. 264 yards, one interception, one touchdown. But what did y'all think about the Rams beating the Carolina Panthers? And do you think the Panthers will be back in the playoffs next year? Coach.
In my humble opinion, I kind of saw this coming. I didn't see no team out the NFC South making it past the first round of the playoffs. I didn't get to really watch the game like I wanted because yesterday while they were playing, I was doing my live stream yesterday, talking about Southern University football, SWAC in terms of the transfer portal, whatever the case may be. But as I'm doing my live stream, my mom kept yelling or whatever, and she was telling me, like, hey, the Rams gonna win, whoop the woo. And sure enough, she was right. At the end of the day, in terms of what do I see the NFC South being next year, it's a crapshoot at this point. The Falcons fired Raheem Morris. I don't know why. I don't think that really was on him. Todd Bowles gonna be back with the Bucks. You got the Saints still got Mickey Loomis as the GM. Kellen Moore gonna be in his second year. I think it's a crapshoot when it comes to the NFC South. So I really can't say the Saints gonna win the division, the Bucks, the Falcons, the Panthers. It's pretty much any team division because it's such a weak division. So I really can't say anything about in regards to who gonna win it, whether it's gonna be the Panthers or not. But in regards to the Rams, I think you're right. I think moving forward, I don't think the Rams, especially depending on who they play next week, I don't see them, being able to play that kind of game against a team like, the Seattle Seahawks, for sure. So whoever they play, they're going to have to be a lot better next weekend for the divisional round.
Yeah, man. I was impressed with the wide receiving core, but the Rams can be beat. The Rams definitely can be beat. Um, uh, Brent, what did you think about the Carolina Panthers dropping the game? They almost made it, but they couldn't stop Matthew Stafford.
Yeah. Shout out to the Carolina Panthers for a valiant effort. I got cousins in North Carolina, so I'm just trying to put a little bit of sugar instead of salt on the wound. Um, to the offense's credit, they did play well. I mean, they had responses for most of the game to whatever the Rams were actually doing. It was just unfortunately at the end the better team won. And like you were saying, as far as the mistakes, um, I think I think most of that was actually just kind of matchup based more than it was like a coverage call. Um, and to be quite honest, I think that once you saw that type of coverage or that type of matchup wasn't actually working, you got to change that. And it didn't look like towards the end that they were making the proper adjustments. Um, I would say fast enough, but it didn't look like it at all.
How
And
could you
I,
give up that play to that tight end on the sideline for the touchdown? Yeah,
eh,
I agree.
yeah, yeah. Because I mean, prior to that, there was a pass that was caught along the sidelines to kind of indicate or set that up. Um, but yeah, they just took advantage of the mismatch between the tight end and whomever was actually trying to cover him. So yeah,
Yeah, man. I ain't gonna lie. I was low key cheering for the Panthers, but
yeah. But and to say and as far as the other part of the question, whether or not they'll be back, I'm with Coach. It's a crapshoot. You just don't know. Like they had what was it? They were 8-9 going into the playoffs. If 8-9 was the best that you could actually do, and then you
No,
won
it
the
was a three-way.
NFC.
It was a three-way 8-9 tie between the Panthers, the Bucks,
Mm-hmm.
and the Falcons. So all three of those top three teams in the NFC South, they all finished 8-9. They all had a losing record. And since with the three-way tie, the Panthers won it. So that's how the Panthers ended up making the playoffs over the Bucks.
Was that because they had more divisional wins?
Probably probably more division wins, either division or conference. But either way, the part of the issue I had with the Panthers and the Bucks, the reason why I was saying the two of them was like the Steelers and the Ravens from the standpoint of nobody really wanted to win a division. Down the stretch, the Saints beat the Panthers twice, and they beat the Bucks once, but they lost to the Falcons. But so at the end, the last week of the season, the Panthers needed they needed the Falcons to beat the Saints, and the Bucks needed the Saints to beat the Falcons. So since the Falcons won, that's how the Panthers were able to get in, because it ended up being a three-way tie between those three teams, and the Bucks won the tiebreaker. So I'm assuming it's the divisional wins, because like I said, and I don't even think it's division, because like I said, the Saints beat the Panthers twice, and they beat the Bucks once, but the Falcons beat the Saints twice. So I don't know how to, tiebreakers are funny, because even in middle school basketball, I had a year where it was a three-way tie for the last spot, and they went by point differential, and my team gave up the second fewest points. So the team that gave up the fewest points made the playoffs, and the team we beat came in third or whatever. So tiebreakers are funny. So I don't know how that worked out, but basically the Panthers ended up getting it.
Okay. Well, yeah. To your point, it was an anomaly, and because of that, I'm not so sure whether or not they'll be back. Um, but it does look like a promising start for something. But yeah, with the NFL, you never know. Um, it does stand for not for long. So um, yeah, I'm not so sure whether or not they'll be back in the playoffs. But it does look promising, is what I'll say.
Okay, okay. JB, what did you think about the Carolina Panthers losing to the Rams?
I think it was a great game. I think Matthew Stafford played up. He didn't play his best game. He should have threw 2 picks. Safety dropped it. Um, Shout out to Puka Nakua. He won them that game. On offensively and then playing some defensive back because when the DB Scott caught that in the almost caught that interception, shout out to him playing DB and knocking it out of his hand for his QB. Bryce Young played a good game. I think that made Panthers fans look forward into next year of him keep developing and getting better. The interception he threw was not his fault. The wide receiver slowed down on that route when he should have just kept going. Yeah, so I already knew that about the Rams. The Rams is beatable, especially if Matthew Stafford and doesn't play his best game. Either some people MVP, but yet in my opinion, if like you said, Jed, if the Panthers didn't turn the ball over, and in the first half, that game would have been much closer, and I think the Panthers would have won. But shout out to the Rams, being more consistent, and then shout out to Puka for making the plays to put his team over the top.
Okay, okay. We're gonna move on to the other game that happened. So last night, the Bears and the Packers. So shout out to 78. He got a video on how he felt about the game. It's hilarious. So 78 Sports TV. If y'all want to see something hilarious, y'all go to his channel and see it. But matter of fact, I put it in my post. But anyway, the Bears and the Packers. I thought the Packers had it in the bag. It was halftime. Man, I was turned to something else. I can't remember if it was JB or I can't remember. Yeah, JB said, "Hey man, the Bears came back and won." I was like, "Bullshit." But the Bears actually came back and beat the Packers 31-27 after Caleb Williams had awful interceptions that normally quarterbacks don't come back from. But I give him this. He stayed poised and he continued to play his game. Colston Loveland was his primary target. 8 receptions, 137 yards through the air. DJ Moore had a touchdown, 6 receptions, 64 yards. Luther Barton, the third, was a chain mover. He caught the ball when they needed him. Defense tightened up. toward the end of the game from the highlights I saw. But going to you, Coach, how the hell did the Packers fumble this win, Coach?
I'm not even gonna lie to you. I did like you did. I turned it, and when I found out the Bears won, I'm like, what? Like they came back and won? Like I ain't gonna lie, I was kind of dumbfounded. But it also made me look at a post that my cousin Ray Swain 225 here on YouTube, King Ray. He was a panelist on Bayou Sports Talk, and he sent me this thing on Instagram, and it talked about C.J. Gardner-Johnson. It was saying like the eerie effect that he has. It don't know whether it's him or he just happened to be in the right place at the right time. But C.J. Gardner-Johnson was a dog for the Saints, a strong safety / nickelback, and basically he was with the Saints, and Mickey Loomis traded him. And after Mickey Loomis traded him, the Saints just kind of, fell off the side of a cliff, side of a mountain. They traded him to the Eagles, and the Eagles ended up losing the Super Bowl that year. Then the Eagles let him go because they felt like he, I guess, just like the Saints did, he was a locker room issue, whatever. Then he went to the Lions. That year, the Lions went to the NFC Championship game, and they lost in the NFC Championship game. So he left the Lions, and he went back to the Eagles. That year, the Eagles win the Super Bowl. So he left the Eagles after they won the Super Bowl last year, and he came to the Bears. The Bears were not a playoff team, in my opinion. He come to the Bears this year. Now they're getting past the first round, and the Bears hadn't made the playoffs in a little minute. So I don't know if it's the C.J. Gardner-Johnson effect or just C.J. Gardner-Johnson just having to be in the right place at the right time. But based on this Instagram post he sent me, and it just tracked him from New Orleans to Philadelphia to Detroit, back to Philadelphia to Chicago. I don't know, maybe he has a positive winning effect on all these different teams, but it's spooky. It's really unexplainable how maybe he has like a Bob Sanders type effect, because I remember when Bob Sanders was with the Colts, when he wasn't playing, the Colts defense was trash. He get in there and guess what?
Facts.
I mean, their defense go from being trash to being one of the better defenses in the NFL. Then he could be way in the secondary playing coverage. Then next thing you know, guess what? They run the ball and he right up by the line of scrimmage. I'm like, dog. Then of course he gonna knock somebody silly and hurt himself, and they get hurt. Now they go back to being at the bottom. So I don't know what kind of effect C.J. Gardner-Johnson has on the Bears and just have on every team he's been on, but I think he has a lot to do with the success that the Bears has had as a team this year. And y'all got to see this on Instagram. It's crazy to me.
You on mute, Jared?
I just finna say that I was finished.
Yeah, I am on mute. Thank you, fellas. And Caleb Williams, Anthony Bolton said Caleb Williams, the LD Barge of the NFL, came through in the clutch. Yeah, he did. Brent, what did you think about the Packers dropping the ball and letting the Chicago Bears coming back?
Yeah, shocked and appalled, sir. Shocked and appalled. When they up like 21-3 or something like that at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how you go from that to that, but I was kind of like with you, Jared. I figured that the Bears had it in the bag, and at one point I stopped watching the game. It was like, oh, okay, this is just gonna be another drubbing. But to the Bears' credit, they found a way to win. It was not looking good. They didn't. Yeah, I thought that there was probably going to be some sort of turnover or something like that they were going to do, maybe like in the second or third quarter to turn the game around. Nope. They didn't. Yeah, the Magic didn't start working until the fourth quarter. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was just a very wild finish. That was one of the wildest finishes I've ever seen in a playoff game. Um, and then, you know, I take that back. Houston and the Buffalo Bills, like in '93 or whatever, when it's supposed to be a Texas Super Bowl, and
Yeah,
the Houston
yeah,
Oilers blew that.
yeah. I felt so bad for
Um,
Warren Moon that year.
yeah, that was just as bad, if not, yeah, that was just as bad. Like, yeah, there should have been no way that they came back from that. But yeah, shout outs to the resilience of the Chicago Bears. A thing. There's really not any type of there's not anything that you can actually pin on game strategy or play calling or anything like that. It's just that certain circumstances worked out, and you just can't put a lid on that. Um, so I guess whoever they play, depending on who they play, this next round we'll have to see. But I think that was their miracle game. So yeah, I expect them to probably hit an exit the next round.
Yeah. Okay. I agree. JB, what did you think about the Bears coming back?
They won and they should have lost. They were pissing me off. They kept going for it on fourth down. Like stupid. They coached whoever the coach. I think Ben Johnson, whoever they coached, he was pissing me off. I'm like, bro, it's too early for you to go for it. Y'all been good on offense. Y'all ain't been that good. You know what I'm saying? When you going for it on offense, I mean, go for it on fourth down, and not even past the other side of the 50 in the other team territory. You know what I'm saying? So, and then after they kept doing that, not making it, and then the Packers, would take advantage, and the score was 21-3. Man, I took my black ass to bed and took a nap. Got up, and then you guys get the news or the notifications for YouTube, and I said, damn. I said, you mean to tell me that the Packers let these dudes come back? And I be damned. They did. And I don't know. And then I didn't watch the second half to see if, the Packers, what normally happens when you got a lead with teams like the Atlanta did in that Super Bowl against the Patriots, where instead of just running the ball, they got pass happy when you up 3 touchdowns. I'm not 100% sure if that happened, but all I know is that the Chicago Bears, you know what I'm saying, they came back, and then they was able to get the win. This is not a good look for Matt LaFleur. In the playoff game, I know it's a playoff game, but crazy, man.
Yeah, it is crazy.
This
Yeah.
Hey, and let me throw this caveat out here. Brent Fox brought up the Houston Oilers and the Buffalo Bills, and JB brought up the Super Bowl with the Patriots and the Falcons. In both of those games, both Jerry Glanville and I can't remember the Falcons coach, both of them kept throwing the ball when they were up big. Didn't lean on the running game. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know Glanville. I blame Glanville for sure. They ran a run and shoot offense. Instead of giving the ball to Lorenzo White and just pounding the rock, you up by 4 touchdowns. Run the effing ball. And the same thing with the Super Bowl. You got Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is a B quarterback. He ain't no A plus like Brady. Just run the effing ball. So I don't know for certain, but I'll be willing to bet that's what happened. Man, you got a lead like that, especially in the second half. Man, hey, bro, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball.
I don't know what it is about these teams choosing it. It's the reason why Harbaugh and his offensive coordinator got fired.
Yeah.
You refused to run the ball in the Patriots game when you had a big lead. When you was in the lead, you refused to run the ball when they couldn't stop it. I mean, but that's all right. It's it's a learning lesson when your ass is unemployed. So
Facts, man. And right now, we got the Eagles, 49ers. Eagles is up 13-10. I'm hoping the Eagles win that game. And uh and then later on tonight we got the Patriots, Chargers. And then tomorrow we got the Steelers, Texans. So real fast, fellas, we have to wrap it up because I got something to do. It's the halftime now, but who you want to win, Eagles or 49ers? Coach?
Eagles.
Okay. Brent?
I think he dropped off.
Oh, he dropped off? Okay, he back on. Hey,
Okay.
Brent, who you got? Eagles or 49ers winning?
Ooh. Are the 49ers hosting or are the Eagles hosting?
Well, they're playing right now. The Eagles, it looks like the 49ers are at home, and Eagles are up 13-10 at halftime.
no, they're playing in Philly.
Oh, they're playing in Philly? Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and take Philly. The reason being is because most West Coast teams don't do very good in other time zones. But since this is a later game, I think they should be most West Coast. Yeah, no, they should be okay. But yeah, I'm gonna still take the Eagles just by default. They're defending champions, so I think that they would probably have an advantage.
Okay. JB?
I'm
Eagles.
going with Philly. But man, 49ers is a well coached team. But also I was surprised if they come back with a win, especially their Philly offensive coordinator trash. Yeah. So I'm going Philly, but won't be surprised if our 49ers win. Did we talk about Buffalo and Jacksonville?
We will.
Okay.
Matter of fact, now Buffalo, Jacksonville. What did y'all? What did we think about that game? Real fast, Coach.
I didn't get to check it out. I was at church, and then when I got home from church, basically, I came home, got me something to eat, and took a nap before the show. So I didn't get to catch none of that game.
Yeah, the Bills end up beating the Jags 27-24, which I kind of knew was gonna happen. But yeah, the Bills got the win. I ain't gonna lie, the rushing touchdowns of Josh Allen, got them the win. Brent, what you think about the Bills beating the Jaguars?
Uh-oh. Am I on mute?
No, we hear you.
Okay. I'm kind of not surprised, but yeah, I'm not surprised. I'll just leave
I
it
think
at
that's
that.
why I put that last, because ain't nobody.
Yeah, I'm not.
Jags were the perpetrators. JB, what you think about that game? The Jags and Bills. The Bills beating the Jags.
Everybody, we just saw the difference between a game changer and a good quarterback. Josh Allen is a game changer, even though I hate Buffalo and his fans. But Josh Allen is a beast, man. They couldn't stop Josh Allen in crunch time, So, and he
Yeah.
made some great plays. Trevor Lawrence didn't play bad. He threw a couple of picks, especially that one at the end. But he gave his team a chance to win. You know, with the lead, and the defense couldn't get Josh Allen off the field. So I'm not gonna shit on Trevor Lawrence, even though I did coming in the game. I didn't trust the Jags and Trevor Lawrence. 'Cause I'm not sure that Trevor Lawrence and the Jags has ever been in this situation, especially when the games got tight in the playoff game. So congratulations to Buffalo.
Brent said he'll try to be right back. He said, "It's okay, brother." And Anthony Bolton said Matt LaFleur is basically John Harbaugh. Remember, he had Aaron Rodgers when he was an MVP and he choked. Yeah, yeah. And going to the Patriots and Chargers. Who we got this game? Patriots or Chargers? Coach.
Patriots.
I'm going with the San Diego Superchargers. Just to be different.
Yeah, you know what? I'm with you. I'm hoping the Chargers. When I even though Drake May is balling, they think he's gonna be the MVP, which is he playing like it, to be honest with you. But I don't like the Patriots. So I'm hoping the LA Chargers can pull it out somehow. JB, I know you said you got the Patriots. So you want to go elaborate?
Man, that Chargers offensive line, they got us out there playing offensive line. So I don't know. They got a lot of injuries on that offensive line, man, and I think that's going to be the difference in this game.
Right, and of course I got, like I said, I got the Chargers, and then the Steelers, Texans. Who we got in this game? I got the Texans.
I got the Texans.
Coach.
Too. Texans.
JB.
Man, Texas gonna beat the dog shit out of the Steelers.
And I wanted Brent. I guess he having technical difficulty because of the area he's in, the area he's at. But I wanted him to talk about his Steelers. But yeah, I don't see that Steelers offensive line holding up a full game. Trying to protect the old ass Aaron Rodgers.
If they do win, I'm gonna be shocked. And Mike Tomlin is one of the best coaches of all time. If they win, and he already is, but I'm just saying.
Yeah, I agree, man. But we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up, man. Coach, let everybody know where they can meet you and see you, man.
You can catch me at Coach 67 Sports TV on all social media platforms. However, I'm primarily here on YouTube. I'll probably say in about 24 hours, I have another installment of the Tailgate Party. So come over to my channel and check me out. Thursday, we'll be back here with HBCU Fanatics to talk about some transfer portal news. And then, of course, again, next Sunday, we'll have another edition of the Southern Baller Show. Catch y'all on the rebound. Y'all enjoy the rest of y'all weekend. Have a blessed, phenomenal weekend. Have a blessed work week. Peace and blessings. And salute to the awesome and amazing LDBC, you dig?
Yeah, shout out to mighty LDBC. JB, any lasting words?
Man, as we always say here at the Southern Baller Show, especially Big Joe, y'all enjoyed his football, college and pros. both playoffs and championships. Um, and then y'all have a great work week. Y'all start off the year right, and we'll see y'all next week.
Yes, sir. And Brent Fox, even though he has system issues, every Thursday he has a show. It's just me. Um, like I said, every Thursday, so you make sure y'all support and check the brother out. But this was another installment of the Southern Baller Show. Y'all be blessed.